she gasped. "Harder, like you mean it," he whispered, "not stopping till you say please." Emma walked into the office that morning feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. It was the start of a new project, one that promised challenges she had never faced before. The office was buzzing with activity, phones ringing, keyboards clattering, and colleagues talking in hurried tones. She loved the energy of the place, even if it sometimes felt overwhelming. Emma had always been ambitious, always ready to take on something that seemed difficult. Yet today, there was a special tension in the air, something that made her heart beat a little faster. As she walked toward her desk, she noticed Liam across the room. He was calmly organizing his papers, completely focused, almost as if the chaos around him didn't exist. Liam had a reputation in the office. People respected him for his determination and calm nature. He never panicked, never rushed, and somehow managed to get through even the most stressful situations with a quiet confidence. Emma had noticed him before, admired him even, but today there was something about his presence that seemed different, more noticeable. Their first interaction came sooner than expected. A manager called them over to discuss the project. Emma felt a flutter of anxiety. This was a big responsibility, and she wanted to impress. Liam, as always, was composed, listening carefully, asking the right questions, and making notes. Emma tried to match his calm, but her excitement and nervous energy made her fidget. She could see Liam glance at her occasionally, a small, knowing smile appearing on his face. It wasn't mocking. It was encouraging, in a subtle, almost imperceptible way. The project itself was complicated. It required creativity, careful planning, and the ability to solve problems quickly. Emma felt a thrill run through her. This was exactly the kind of challenge she lived for. Liam outlined the steps they needed to take, breaking the project into smaller, manageable parts. He spoke clearly, explaining each task with patience. Emma was impressed not just by his knowledge, but by the way he approached problems. He didn't rush, he didn't demand perfection instantly, and he always seemed to know exactly how to motivate people without making them feel pressured. Working together, Emma and Liam quickly realized that their styles were very different. Emma was fast and energetic, sometimes jumping ahead without fully considering every detail. Liam was careful and methodical, preferring to plan each step and anticipate potential problems. At first, this caused some friction. Emma would suggest an idea enthusiastically, only to be reminded by Liam to think it through. At times she found it frustrating. Why did he always seem so cautious? But gradually she began to see the value in his approach. His patience allowed her to slow down and notice things she might have missed otherwise. The first few days were full of small successes and small mistakes. Emma learned to trust Liam's guidance, and Liam began to appreciate Emma's energy and creativity. There were moments when they disagreed, loud discussions that ended in laughter, moments when the tension of the project made them snap at each other briefly. But these moments didn't break their teamwork. They strengthened it. They started to develop an unspoken understanding, a rhythm that made working together feel almost natural. Outside of work, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the new dynamic. She found herself replaying conversations in her mind, noticing small gestures, the way Liam encouraged her without being overbearing, the way he stayed calm when everything seemed chaotic. She realized that there was a kind of intensity in their partnership, an energy that was both challenging and exciting. She felt a mix of admiration and curiosity, wondering how someone could be so persistent, so focused, and yet so patient at the same time. Liam, meanwhile, was quietly observing Emma. He admired her passion and dedication. She had a spark that he found rare, someone willing to push herself, willing to take risks. He could see that she sometimes doubted herself, that she wanted to prove her worth, and he respected that. Without making a show of it, he made a point to support her, to guide her, and to challenge her just enough so she could grow. There was no rush, no pressure, just a steady, persistent support that he knew would help her succeed. As the week went on, their professional relationship began to deepen. They started to share small details about themselves, favorite books, weekend routines, stories about past projects. These conversations were light and casual, but they built a sense of trust and familiarity. Emma realized that she felt comfortable around Liam in a way she didn't with anyone else at work. She could speak freely, make mistakes without fear of judgment, and know that he would be there to help her find a solution. One afternoon they were faced with a particularly challenging part of the project. A crucial component wasn't working as planned, and time was running out. Emma felt the familiar rush of stress and frustration. She wanted to fix it immediately, to push through, but every attempt seemed to hit a wall. Liam, calm as ever, suggested they take a step back and analyze the problem carefully. Emma resisted at first, impatient to solve it quickly, but she decided to trust him. They worked side by side, discussing possibilities, testing small solutions, and learning from each attempt. By the end of the day, they had made progress. The component was functioning correctly, and the project was back on track. Emma felt a wave of relief and pride. She looked at Liam, and for the first time truly appreciated the power of persistence combined with patience. She realized that sometimes challenges weren't just about working harder. They were about working smarter, about trusting the process, and about having someone by your side who wouldn't give up. That evening, as the office emptied, Emma stayed behind to review her notes. Liam offered to walk her to the subway station, and she accepted. The walk was quiet at first, filled with the sounds of the city, but gradually they began talking about their personal goals, their dreams, and their aspirations. Emma felt a connection growing, something deeper than professional respect. She admired Liam not just for his skill but for his character, his determination, his patience, and the quiet way he inspired those around him. By the time they reached the station, Emma realized how much she had learned in just a few days. She had faced challenges, experienced frustration, and discovered the value of persistence. She had also begun to understand the importance of trust, collaboration, and mutual respect. And as she said goodbye to Liam, she felt a sense of anticipation for what the next days would bring. There was more to learn, more challenges to face, and a growing sense that together they could overcome anything. The following week brought a new level of intensity to Emma and Liam's project. The initial excitement had given way to the reality of hard work, deadlines, and unexpected obstacles. Emma felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders, but she also felt a thrill, a sense that this challenge could test her in ways she had never imagined. Liam, as always, remained calm, his presence steadying her nerves even when the pressure seemed overwhelming. Their days began earlier than usual, with Emma arriving at the office before most people. She reviewed her notes, outlined tasks, and mentally prepared for the hours ahead. Liam arrived shortly after, carrying his usual organized folders and quiet confidence. He greeted Emma with a small smile, the kind that made her feel understood without words. They shared a quick discussion about the day's priorities, and then they dove into their work. Almost immediately, the complexity of the project became clear. There were technical problems they hadn't anticipated, gaps in information that required quick thinking, and conflicting opinions from team members. Emma found herself growing frustrated. She wanted to push forward to solve problems immediately, but every attempt seemed to lead to another obstacle. She felt tension building in her chest, a mix of impatience, anxiety, and determination. Liam noticed her frustration and stepped in, not to take control, but to guide her. "Let's take a step back," he suggested calmly. "We need to understand the problem fully before we try to fix it. Rushing now could make things worse." Emma felt a surge of irritation. She was used to tackling challenges head-on, but she also recognized the wisdom in his words. Reluctantly, she agreed, and together they began analyzing the problem carefully, breaking it down into smaller parts and discussing potential solutions. The process was slow, sometimes painfully so, but gradually progress was made. Emma began to see the value of Liam's patience. His methodical approach allowed them to anticipate issues before they became serious, to test solutions carefully, and to learn from every small success and mistake. She began to trust him more deeply, relying not just on her own instincts but on the guidance and steady presence he provided. Even as they worked, the emotional intensity of the project created moments of tension. Emma would push forward, eager to finish a task, while Liam would insist on double-checking details, slowing her down. Their occasional disagreements were not harsh, but they were charged with energy. Emma would sometimes exclaim in frustration, "We don't have time for that." And Liam would respond with calm insistence, "We need to do this right or it will cost us more time later." Over time, these moments became a rhythm, Emma learning to temper her impulsiveness, Liam learning to encourage without dominating. Outside of work, Emma found herself reflecting on these interactions. She began to notice the subtle ways Liam motivated her. He didn't shout or demand, he simply remained persistent, encouraging her to push further, to give her best effort, and to not give up when things felt impossible. Emma realized that his approach wasn't just about completing the project. It was about helping her grow, teaching her patience, and showing her the power of persistence. The team faced a critical challenge midweek. A major component of the project was malfunctioning, and the deadline was looming. Emma felt panic rising. She had tried multiple solutions, each one failing, and the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her. Liam, however, remained calm. "We'll figure it out," he said quietly. "We just need to keep going, step by step." His words were simple, but they carried reassurance. Emma took a deep breath and forced herself to follow his guidance, even when her instinct was to rush. They worked late into the night, testing different approaches, analyzing results, and learning from each attempt. Emma's frustration grew, but so did her admiration for Liam's persistence. He never lost patience, never let the failures discourage him, and never allowed her to give up. Emma began to see the value in pushing through, even when the task seemed impossible. She started to recognize that the true challenge wasn't just technical, it was about perseverance, focus, and trust. During one particularly long session, Emma leaned back in her chair and let out a sigh. "I don't know if I can do this," she admitted, her voice tinged with exhaustion. Liam looked at her with quiet understanding. "You can," he said simply. "I'm not letting you stop now. We'll keep going until we solve it. You just need to trust yourself. And me." There was a weight to his words, a calm authority that made her feel both challenged and supported. Emma realized that she was learning more than just technical skills. She was learning resilience, patience, and the power of collaboration. As the days passed, the intensity of the project began to foster a unique connection between them. They started sharing more personal thoughts and experiences. During brief breaks, they talked about their favorite books, childhood memories, and future dreams. These conversations were light and informal, but they deepened the bond between them. Emma found herself enjoying Liam's company more than she expected, and Liam appreciated Emma's energy and determination. The project required them to work closely together for long hours, often side by side. Emma noticed the small ways Liam offered encouragement, nodding when she made progress, offering suggestions without criticizing, and quietly acknowledging her ideas. She realized that this partnership wasn't just about completing a project. It was about learning to trust someone, to rely on another person's strengths, and to face challenges together. One afternoon, a particularly difficult problem arose. Emma had been trying to implement a solution, but every attempt failed. She felt her confidence waver. Liam approached her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll find a way," he said. "We just need to keep trying step by step. I won't let you give up now." Emma looked at him and realized something profound. Persistence wasn't just about doing the work. It was about having someone there who wouldn't let you quit, who believed in your ability even when you doubted yourself. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. After hours of testing and discussion, they discovered a simple adjustment that resolved the problem. Emma's excitement and relief were overwhelming. She turned to Liam, eyes wide, and he smiled, a quiet, satisfied smile that reflected both pride and camaraderie. They had faced the challenge together, and the experience left them stronger, more confident, and more connected. Even as the pressure of the project continued, Emma began to feel a sense of empowerment. She understood that challenges were opportunities to grow, and that having someone persistent, patient, and supportive by her side could make all the difference. Liam's quiet guidance had taught her that success wasn't just about working harder. It was about persistence, careful planning, and trusting the process. By the end of the week, the project had reached a stable point. Emma and Liam had overcome the major obstacles, and their collaboration had become seamless. They had discovered a rhythm. Emma's energy and creativity perfectly balanced by Liam's patience and determination. They had learned from each other, grown together, and formed a partnership that was both professional and deeply respectful. That evening, as they packed up to leave, Emma felt a mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction. She had faced challenges that tested her limits, but she had also discovered new strengths within herself. Liam's presence had been a steadying force, a reminder that persistence and patience could overcome almost anything. As they walked together toward the exit, Emma realized that this project was more than just a task. It was a journey, one that had already changed the way she approached challenges, teamwork, and personal growth. The next week brought an intensity that neither Emma nor Liam had experienced before. The project had grown more complicated than they initially anticipated, and small problems were multiplying into larger ones. Emma felt a knot of anxiety in her stomach each morning as she approached the office. She wanted to rise to the challenge, but the pressure was beginning to weigh heavily on her. Liam, as always, arrived with his calm presence, his patience acting as a buffer against the rising tension. From the moment they started their day, it was clear that this phase of the project would test not just their skills, but their ability to work together under stress. A major technical issue had emerged overnight, threatening to derail weeks of careful planning. Emma's first instinct was to dive in and try multiple solutions at once, but Liam stopped her gently. "We need to approach this carefully," he said. "Rushing will only create more problems." Emma exhaled sharply, feeling a mix of frustration and admiration. She wanted results immediately, but she also recognized the wisdom in his words. They spent the morning analyzing the issue, breaking it down into smaller parts and discussing potential solutions. Each attempt seemed to reveal a new complication, forcing them to rethink their strategy repeatedly. Emma felt her confidence wavering. She was skilled, intelligent, and experienced, yet this problem seemed insurmountable. Liam noticed the tension building in her and adjusted his approach. Instead of offering solutions directly, he asked questions, prompting Emma to think critically and explore new angles. "You've already tried X and Y," he said calmly. "What about considering Z? Why do you think that didn't work?" Emma paused, her mind racing. She hadn't considered Z in this way, and Liam's question made her see the problem from a different perspective. Slowly, she began to piece together a new approach. Liam's method wasn't easy. It required patience, focus, and persistence, but it was effective. By mid-afternoon, their progress was slow but steady. Emma began to notice something remarkable about their collaboration. Each time she felt like giving up, Liam's quiet persistence reminded her to keep going. He didn't lecture or scold, he simply stayed by her side, guiding her step by step. Emma realized that this was the difference between working alone and working with someone who truly supported you. The task remained difficult, but it no longer felt impossible. As they worked, the stress began to create small conflicts between them. Emma's impatience sometimes clashed with Liam's methodical approach. "We don't have time for this," she exclaimed, during one particularly frustrating attempt. Liam looked at her, his expression calm but firm. "We have to do it right," he replied. "If we rush now, it will take longer to fix later." Emma felt a flash of irritation, but also a grudging respect. He was right. Pushing forward without careful thought could undo all their previous efforts. Despite the tension, there were moments of camaraderie and understanding. They would occasionally share a small laugh over a mistake or a miscommunication, and these moments helped release some of the pressure. Emma began to appreciate the rhythm of their partnership, the balance between her energy and his patience, her creativity and his logic. She realized that challenges were easier to face when someone else was committed to working through them with you, no matter how tough the situation became. Late that afternoon, a particularly complex issue arose. A part of the project that seemed secure suddenly failed, threatening to undo hours of work. Emma felt her heart sink. She had been pushing herself relentlessly, and the thought of losing progress was overwhelming. Liam noticed her distress and put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll fix this," he said quietly. "We've faced problems before, and we can face this one too, step by step." His words carried a calm authority that grounded her, and she took a deep breath, forcing herself to focus. They spent hours testing different solutions. Some worked partially, only to fail later. Others revealed new problems that hadn't been apparent before. Emma felt exhausted, mentally and physically, but Liam's steady presence kept her going. He encouraged her when she doubted herself, reminded her to take breaks when she was overwhelmed, and celebrated small victories along the way. Slowly, their teamwork began to yield results. During one critical moment, Emma made a breakthrough. She realized that a small adjustment could resolve a recurring problem. She hesitated, unsure if it would work, and looked to Liam for guidance. He nodded encouragingly. "Go for it," he said simply. The solution worked perfectly. Relief and excitement washed over Emma. She had faced a major challenge, and with Liam's support, she had overcome it. The experience left her more confident in her abilities and more appreciative of their partnership. As the days passed, the project continued to present new challenges. Each problem required them to think creatively, communicate clearly, and persist through setbacks. Emma began to notice how much she had grown in just a short time. She was more patient, more analytical, and more capable of handling stress without panic. Liam, too, seemed to value their collaboration more deeply. He admired Emma's energy, her willingness to push boundaries, and her determination to succeed even when the odds seemed stacked against them. One evening, as they were working late, Emma reflected on how far they had come. She realized that the project was not just about achieving results. It was about learning resilience, trust, and the importance of persistence. Liam's insistence on careful planning and steady progress had taught her a valuable lesson. True success wasn't just about talent or effort, but about the ability to stay committed, adapt, and work together through challenges. The pressure of the project also revealed personal strengths and vulnerabilities. Emma had moments of doubt when she questioned her ability to complete the work. Liam had moments of frustration when progress was slower than expected. Yet, through it all, they learned to support each other. Emma realized that admitting doubt or asking for help didn't make her weak. It made her stronger, because it allowed them to work together more effectively. Liam learned to be patient not just with the work, but with Emma's emotions, offering support without judgment. By the end of the week, the project had reached a critical stage. Most of the major problems had been addressed, but the final phases would require careful attention and collaboration. Emma and Liam had formed a rhythm, understanding when to push, when to pause, when to challenge each other, and when to offer support. The tension had not disappeared, but it had transformed into a productive energy that drove them forward. Emma also began to notice a subtle change in her feelings toward Liam. She admired him professionally, of course, but she also appreciated the way he motivated her, challenged her, and stayed committed when she felt like giving up. There was a quiet trust that had developed between them, an understanding that they could rely on each other no matter what obstacles arose. Liam, in turn, seemed to value Emma's creativity, determination, and energy, recognizing that she brought out the best in him as well. The days that followed brought the highest level of intensity Emma and Liam had ever faced. The project had reached a critical phase, and the pressure was now at its peak. Every small decision mattered. Every calculation, every step could determine success or failure. Emma woke up each morning feeling a mixture of anticipation and dread. She loved the challenge, but the weight of responsibility sometimes felt unbearable. Liam, as always, arrived calmly, ready to face whatever came their way, and his steady presence grounded her in ways she hadn't yet fully realized. From the very first moments of the day, tension hung in the air. A key component of the project that had previously seemed stable suddenly began malfunctioning. Emma felt a surge of panic. Weeks of hard work were now at risk, and she could almost feel the clock ticking louder in her mind. Liam noticed the strain on her face. He didn't panic, didn't scold. He simply leaned over her desk and said in a calm voice, "We will get through this. Step by step, we will find the solution." His words were simple, yet they carried a quiet authority that gave her the strength to take a deep breath and refocus. They dove into the problem immediately, trying different approaches, testing theories, and analyzing results. Each attempt brought a small victory or a new obstacle. The emotional intensity in the room was palpable. Emma's frustration sometimes bubbled over. "Why isn't this working? We've tried everything," she exclaimed, her hands flying over her notes. Liam remained patient. "We haven't tried everything. There is always a way. We just need to find it." His persistence was steady, unwavering, and it challenged Emma to match his determination rather than give in to despair. Hours passed and fatigue began to settle in. Emma felt her mind clouded, her concentration slipping. She wanted to give up, to step away from the desk, but Liam's quiet insistence kept her moving forward.
"We're almost there," he said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "One more push."
"We just need one clear solution, and we'll solve it." Emma felt a flicker of hope and took another deep breath, ready to give everything she had left. They worked late into the night, the office nearly empty save for the soft hum of computers and the faint glow of desk lights. Emma and Liam fell into a rhythm, testing, analyzing, adjusting, and learning from every small error. It was exhausting work, both mentally and physically, but the intensity also created a sense of shared purpose and connection. They were no longer just colleagues. They were a team united by the challenge, each relying on the other to push through. At one critical moment, Emma made a key discovery. A tiny detail she had overlooked earlier suddenly revealed a new approach. She hesitated, unsure if it would work, and glanced at Liam. His steady gaze encouraged her without pressure. "Go for it," he said simply. She implemented the solution, and for the first time that night the problem began to resolve itself. Relief washed over her, but there was no time to celebrate yet. They had to ensure the solution would hold. The breakthrough energized them. With renewed focus, they carefully tested every component, adjusting, refining, and analyzing, until each part functioned perfectly. The intensity of the work had pushed them to their limits, yet it also revealed strengths they didn't know they had. Emma discovered a deeper resilience in herself, a patience she hadn't realized she could summon, and a sense of clarity that came from working through extreme pressure. Liam's guidance had been crucial, but her own persistence was equally important. By the early hours of the morning, the project had finally stabilized. Emma leaned back in her chair, exhausted, but elated. "We did it," she whispered, hardly believing the words. Liam smiled quietly, nodding.
"We did. Step by step we made it."
In that moment, the weight of all the hours, the frustration and the struggle seemed to lift, replaced by a profound sense of accomplishment. They had faced the greatest challenge of the project together and had emerged victorious. The emotional intensity of the climax brought them closer. In the quiet aftermath, Emma reflected on the journey. She realized how much she had grown, not just professionally but personally. She had learned to manage stress, to focus under pressure, and to trust in someone else's guidance. Most importantly, she had learned the value of persistence, not just blindly pushing forward, but working carefully, thoughtfully, and with determination. Liam's unwavering patience had shown her that strength came from endurance and focus, not just raw effort. In the days that followed, the project's success became clear. All components functioned as intended, and their teamwork had resulted in a product that exceeded expectations. Emma felt a deep satisfaction, knowing that their efforts had paid off. She also felt gratitude for Liam's guidance and companionship. The experience had not only solved a technical challenge but had strengthened her confidence, her resilience, and her ability to work under pressure. Even as the project wound down, Emma noticed subtle changes in their dynamic. Their collaboration had evolved from simple teamwork into a partnership built on trust, respect, and mutual encouragement. They understood each other's strengths and weaknesses, knew how to motivate one another, and had developed a rhythm that made tackling even the most difficult problems manageable. Emma realized that these qualities were rare and valuable, and she felt fortunate to have experienced them firsthand. One afternoon, as they reviewed the final details of the project, Emma paused and looked at Liam. "I never imagined I could handle something this intense," she said quietly. "I don't think I could have done it without you." Liam smiled, a mix of pride and humility in his expression. "You did it," he said. "I just helped guide you. The persistence, the effort, the determination, that was all you." "I never doubted you." Emma felt a warmth in her chest, a recognition that success was not just about completing tasks, but about growth, trust, and partnership. The final phase of the project also reinforced important lessons about collaboration. Emma realized that no challenge, no matter how daunting, needed to be faced alone. Liam had demonstrated that persistence could be contagious, that steady support could turn frustration into clarity, and that success often required both patience and action. She also learned that true partnership was not about taking over for someone, but about guiding, encouraging, and believing in them even when they doubted themselves. By the end of Part 4, the climax had passed, and the story had reached a moment of triumph. The project was not just completed, it had been conquered through teamwork, persistence, and resilience. Emma and Liam had faced extreme challenges, moments of doubt, and intense pressure, yet they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident. They had learned valuable lessons about trust, collaboration, and the power of unwavering effort. And these lessons would stay with them long after the project was finished. In the quiet moments after their victory, Emma reflected on the journey. She thought about the long hours, the late nights, and the intense problem-solving that had brought them to this point. She remembered the moments of doubt, the frustration and the fear of failure, and realized how far she had come. More than just completing the project, she had discovered her own strength, resilience, and ability to grow under pressure. Liam had been a guide, a partner, and a source of steady support, but the journey had also been hers. Every step, every effort, every breakthrough. As they finally left the office together that evening, Emma felt a mixture of relief, pride, and gratitude. She knew that challenges in the future would still arise, but she also knew that persistence, patience, and partnership could overcome almost anything. The project had tested them in ways they could never have predicted, but it had also shown them the value of hard work, resilience, and unwavering support. The morning after the project's climax, the office felt different. There was a quiet energy in the air, a sense that something significant had been accomplished. Emma arrived early, as usual, but this time she carried with her a new confidence, a sense of calm determination that was different from the anxious excitement she had felt at the start of the project. She walked past her colleagues with a small smile, feeling proud of what they had achieved, yet knowing that the true growth had come not just from completing the work, but from the journey itself. Liam arrived shortly after, carrying his usual organized folders and calm demeanor. He noticed the subtle change in Emma immediately and gave her a small, approving nod. "You handled everything incredibly well," he said quietly. Emma felt a warm sense of validation. It wasn't just about the praise. It was about knowing that her efforts, persistence, and resilience had been recognized. She smiled and replied, "We handled it. Together." There was truth in her words. The project's success had been the result of their collaboration, their shared determination, and their mutual trust. As they reviewed the final report, Emma reflected on how far they had come. Each obstacle they had faced had been a test, not just of their technical skills, but of their ability to persevere, adapt, and rely on one another. She remembered the moments of doubt, the times when she wanted to give up, and the times when Liam's steady insistence had kept her going. It was in those moments that she had learned the most, about patience, about resilience, and about the power of collaboration. The final review of the project was scheduled for later that day. Emma felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as she prepared to present their work to the team and the management. Liam was by her side, quietly ensuring that everything was in order.
"We've done everything we can," he said calmly.
"Now it's time to show the results." His confidence was contagious, and Emma found herself standing taller, speaking with clarity and authority as they walked into the meeting room. The presentation went smoothly. Emma and Liam explained the project's challenges, their approach to solving problems, and the final outcomes. Colleagues and managers alike were impressed not just by the technical results, but by the persistence, collaboration, and problem-solving skills that had been demonstrated throughout the process. Emma felt a deep sense of pride, knowing that their hard work and determination had paid off. Liam gave her a reassuring smile, and she realized that the journey had been as important as the outcome. After the presentation, Emma and Liam stayed behind to discuss the lessons they had learned. They reflected on the obstacles they had faced, the moments of frustration, and the breakthroughs that had defined their experience. Emma realized that the project had been a mirror, showing her both her strengths and areas where she could grow. She had learned to trust herself, to manage stress, and to rely on collaboration when facing challenges that seemed overwhelming. Liam in turn shared how he had grown through their partnership, learning to balance guidance with patience, and to value the energy and creativity that Emma brought to their work. In the quiet moments after the project's completion, Emma found herself thinking about the broader lessons of the experience. Success, she realized, was not just about achieving a goal or completing a task. It was about persistence, resilience, and the ability to face challenges with determination and adaptability. It was about trusting oneself, trusting others, and understanding that growth often comes through struggle. She felt grateful for the challenges, knowing that they had shaped her into a more confident, capable, and resilient person. Liam, too, reflected on the journey. He thought about the moments when Emma had doubted herself, the times when progress seemed impossible, and the breakthroughs that had come from their combined effort. He realized that true partnership was not just about guidance or leadership, but about mutual support, encouragement, and trust. Emma's determination had inspired him just as his persistence had inspired her. Together, they had created something greater than the sum of their individual efforts, and the experience had left a lasting impact on both of them. As the office began to quiet down at the end of the day, Emma and Liam walked together toward the exit. The city outside was alive with activity, yet there was a sense of calm after the storm of the project. They spoke casually about their plans for the weekend, sharing stories and laughter. But beneath the light conversation was a deep sense of understanding. They had faced intense pressure, solved complex problems, and supported each other through every obstacle. The bond they had formed was built on trust, respect, and shared perseverance, a bond that would remain long after the project was finished. Emma thought about the personal growth she had experienced over the past few weeks. She had faced moments of doubt and frustration, yet she had discovered her own resilience. She had learned to focus under pressure, to think critically, and to approach challenges with patience and determination. She had also learned the value of collaboration, of trusting another person's guidance while contributing her own strengths. These lessons, she realized, would serve her in every aspect of life, not just in work. Liam, walking beside her, reflected on the same lessons from his perspective. He had guided, encouraged, and supported Emma, but he had also learned from her energy, creativity, and determination. The experience had shown him that leadership was not just about direction, but about patience, persistence, and mutual growth. Together they had created an environment where challenges could be faced and overcome, where mistakes were opportunities to learn, and where success was defined not just by results, but by the journey itself. Over the next few days, Emma and Liam's work was recognized more broadly. Their project became a model for effective teamwork, persistence, and problem-solving. Colleagues sought their advice, managers praised their approach, and the results of their efforts were celebrated across the company. Emma felt a quiet pride, knowing that the recognition was not just for completing a task, but for the dedication, perseverance, and collaboration that had defined the entire process. Even as the excitement of recognition settled, Emma and Liam continued to reflect on the lessons learned. They discussed how challenges in the future would be inevitable, but they also knew that the skills, strategies, and mindset they had developed would allow them to face those challenges successfully. They had learned to stay calm under pressure, to persevere through setbacks, and to support each other in ways that enhanced both performance and personal growth. One evening, as they walked through the city streets, Emma looked at Liam and smiled.
"I never thought I could handle something this intense," she said. "But now I feel like I can face almost anything."
Liam nodded, returning her smile. "You've grown so much," he said. "And the best part is, you did it yourself. I just helped guide you. That persistence, that determination, it's yours." Emma felt a deep sense of satisfaction and gratitude. She realized that success was not just about completing a project. It was about discovering one's own strength, trusting the process, and embracing growth through challenges. The project's conclusion also brought a sense of closure and reflection. Emma thought about the long hours, the challenges, and the moments of doubt, and realized how much she had learned. She had gained skills, confidence, and resilience, but she had also discovered the importance of persistence, collaboration, and trust. Liam's guidance had been invaluable, but the journey had also been hers. Every step, every challenge, every breakthrough. As the story drew to a close, Emma and Liam looked toward the future with confidence. They knew that challenges would continue to arise, but they also knew that persistence, patience, and mutual support could overcome almost anything. The project had tested them in ways they never imagined, but it had also shown them the value of hard work, determination, and partnership. They had learned that success was not just about the outcome, but about the growth, resilience, and understanding that came from facing challenges together. In the quiet moments after the project's completion, Emma felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had faced her fears, overcome obstacles, and grown as a professional and as a person. Liam had been a steady guide and partner, and together they had achieved something remarkable. Yet more than the success itself, it was the lessons, the personal growth, and the bond formed through perseverance that would remain with her long into the future. The story of Part 5 closes on a reflective and satisfying note. Emma had discovered her own resilience, learned the importance of patience and persistence, and understood the true value of collaboration. Liam had witnessed growth, shared responsibility, and formed a partnership based on trust and mutual respect. Together, they had faced challenges, embraced difficulties, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident. The project was complete, but the lessons, growth, and bonds they had formed would continue to influence their lives for years to come. As they parted ways that evening, Emma felt a quiet confidence she had never known before. She had been pushed to her limits, faced uncertainty, and experienced intense pressure, yet she had emerged stronger, more capable, and more resilient. Liam had been there every step of the way, guiding, encouraging, and challenging her to persist. The journey had been demanding, exhausting, and intense, but it had also been rewarding, transformative, and unforgettable.